31 extracurricular activity after-school clubs. I know of at least 2 that I will be bringing to you all shortly. One is an interest in our high school SAD chapter working with the middle school to create a SAD chapter at the middle school, so our high school program would mentor. And then the other is a Junior Statesmen of America program that is born out of what Marina spoke about, the We the People program. It was described to me as where Model United Nations is kind of an international program, Junior Statesmen of America is a domestic affairs program of the same type. So I expect to be coming in, as Mr. Fauché said, sometime in October. We hope to be presenting ideas for new clubs. So again, we think that the importance of those is that they are student born, which is always good. The students come to us with ideas and want to form these clubs, and they make presentations, and I ultimately lead them through to the presentation that they all make to you. And also, I think it creates an investment in the school. It gives opportunities. It builds connections for students at their school if they're involved in things that are of interest to them. So I think there's a huge benefit to that. We have, as I mentioned, we have added smart boards over the last 2 years. We're now up to 13. We'll be looking to do more. We are very happy about the support we've gotten for textbook acquisitions, new books, and also upgrades to existing textbooks. We've done also at the high school, like the middle school. In fact, I copied Mr. Fauché's idea of the My Voice survey and administered that at the high school last spring. Mr. Fauché and I, as well as my staff at the high school, are coordinating now when we will be ready to come in and present those results to you. We also have faculty, staff, and parent and student presentations to make. So I think we're looking at sometime in November is hoping to be at a good point where we think we can release the results of those surveys publicly. There have been other anti-bullying initiatives that have gone on at the high school, a number of guest speakers for students, a number of teachers involved in professional development activities aimed at helping to create a safe school environment. We've had now 2 faculty book discussion groups around anti-bullying initiatives, and we've increased the number of modules of study in our health education classes in grades 9 and 10. So all, I think, very, very good initiatives. We've also started last year with a pilot of a freshman advisory program. Some of you may be familiar with the Hive. That was a name playing off of our Hornet logo. The Hive, helping individuals value everyone. That is our fresh student advisory program, kind of a mentor-mentee format. We will continue with that again this year. I think another significant accomplishment has been our continued accreditation by the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. That is always a good thing. We are a fully accredited high school. We're always a fully accredited high school, but it was nice to receive a final letter recently stating that, and we are in the midst of preparing for our next 10-year site visit in 2013. I think in the area of special education, the creation of 2 special education programs, one a pre-vocational program and the other a language-based disabilities program, I think go a long way in helping us to fulfill our mission of an inclusive school. We're very, very proud of those 2 programs and having had students come back to North Reading High School to continue their education. Community partnerships are always an important thing. The high school benefits tremendously from the generosity of the community of North Reading. We received 2 defibrillators last year through a donation and amounted to almost a $4,000 donation. We're very, very grateful, not only for that, but all of the wonderful support that we receive from the citizenry and the business community of North Reading. Our building, while in some respects may be a little bit tired, the maintenance of it is very, very good. At the high school, we enjoy an awful lot of support from Wayne Hardiker and his staff, from Mr. Nelson as the Director of Operations and Finance. So the building does get kept up in what is needed. We had a significant roof program, resurfacing program this summer, which helped to avoid some of the many leaks that we had, particularly in the C wing. So money is still being spent on the high school where it's needed, and I'm happy to say that the building does hold up pretty well given its age. The turf field at the high school has been a tremendous boon to our, I think, the spirit of our athletics and also to our athletic program. I think that field, every time I drive by it, it speaks for itself, especially when the lights are on. It's great. The last thing I would want to mention, and I haven't highlighted every one of our accomplishments, but I've kind of picked the ones that I thought might be most noteworthy tonight. But the last one I think that needs to be mentioned is our Edline initiative. We unveiled that in full operation last week. It's a program that allows parents and students to view their grades online from home. All parents that had not yet had a passcode, because we did pilot it last year, so some parents did have a passcode for their student. Those carried over to this year if their child was not a senior who graduated. Those are still intact. Everyone else got an access code last week. Already the program has received very, very high acclaim from parents. We heard about it at Back to School Night last Thursday, and it's been received very, very positively. I'm not so sure the students like the idea of their grades being checked every day. I don't know, but I'm hopeful that they do see the value in it, and I think that they do, and certainly the parents, I think, will enjoy knowing where their child might be lagging behind and where they're doing well, and in either case being able to make adjustments at home if they need to in order that their child can be the most successful that he or she can be. So I think in summary, that's a little bit of an overview of our school improvement plan. We'll be meeting for the first time this school year on October 7th, and we'll get going on drafting the next plan.
One thing, I've heard some nice positive comments from parents in the last few days about the Edline program. I wasn't sure when it was going into effect, and I heard from at least 3 parents over the last 3 days saying, this is great, and so I think it was overdue, and I'm glad we have that now. John, if I could for a second, I'd like the whole committee to hear about how we're addressing the concussion issue.
Sure.
We did bring that up at the athletic subcommittee, but I think that's an issue that the community needs to hear about, what the school is doing in coordination with the state. Yes. So if you could address that for a few minutes, that'd be great.
Maybe for the benefit of the community that might be watching at home, there is a new Massachusetts law that requires public high schools that are members of the MIAA, the Mass Interscholastic Athletic Association, of which we are, to sponsor a concussion awareness program for parents, staff, and for students. We have begun to put the word out. I sent an email out after our athletic subcommittee meeting last week to all families, alerting them to this new law and where they could obtain information about how to prevent a head injury, concussion, or otherwise. So that information has gone out. Our coaches have all taken an online test for themselves to just make them more aware of how to prevent these kinds of head injuries for students, and also how to properly treat them. Not that they would be giving them medical care, but what things need to be done in order to ensure that a child is safe before they go back into a game, for example. Some kind of things that they can sense from having taken that online test. We're at a point now where we are putting together the schedule for students. All of our student athletes and members of the band and color guard will need to take this online test as well. And they will be doing that over the course. I think we're going to start as early as the end of this week. So we'll be doing what we plan to do. The athletic department and I is to break out a series of days where teams will come in the afternoon and use our library computer labs to take. It's an online test to take that online test, which is called Impact. So I would expect that for the fall, we would be in pretty good shape with all of our students having participated, I would say within a 2-week period. That certainly is our goal, and I don't think it will take any longer than that.
Great. I just want to make sure that the committee was aware of that.
Is that enough detail about
Yeah, and then it makes it easier for me, so I don't have to
Okay.
I don't have to try to remember all of it later on when I get my report on athletic subcommittee.
I think, John,
so.
you sent out a lot of information, too, for parents to be able to identify some of the symptoms, too.
It's through the Centers for Disease Control, yes. Yeah, the website is very, very good, very comprehensive. So I think it's fair to say we're at a good place in terms of where we need to be to implement the requirements of the law.
Thanks.
That's great.
Any questions for John? Karen?
I did have one question, because I'm always thinking about this issue about foreign language and expanding our offerings. But if there were languages that you could offer, what would the next step be?
Back about 4 years ago, I think it was, we did introduce German, but unfortunately it was one of the casualties of a tight
Right.
budget at the time. And the reasons at that time for introducing German were that it was primarily because it was recognized as one of the internationally as the #1 language in business. That was the impetus behind introducing that in German. At that time, offering the German, but it was only 1 year. You know, to be honest, I haven't given it much thought or surveyed where the interest would be. I don't know if that still would be of a high level of interest or need, but I think any of the, you know, I think some of the Asian languages, Chinese, Japanese, I think there's a place for those in the curriculum. But again, we would be talking about additional staff because those certified
Course,
people
right.
don't exist. But
Well, with an improvement plan, the idea is to think
The
about what are we
advocacy
going to
for
need
it,
in the
yeah,
future and to
sure.
plan for it, and so I always think about this issue.
Yeah.
That and the science. I'm glad to hear you talk about the fact that science is such an important area and in great need of improvement, which of course would be, you know, addressed by a new facility, but also that there are other things going on in the high school that would address improved science curriculum. So, you know, I think that's one issue that I'd like to hear a lot about as the academic year goes on, is how we are addressing both our foreign language needs
Okay.
in the next couple of years. Because I'm always hearing some report about, you know, we should be offering Chinese, we should be offering, you know, all of these
Mandarin.
languages, and that, you know, we aren't as competitive with other districts. But I really do want to know from our faculty, what are some of the, you know, courses that we could be offering that would help our students. So I don't know if anyone else feels the same way, but
I think with the issue with the Chinese, I think it'd be great to offer it at the high school. That's a language where you really need to start probably in the first grade if you really want to get kids to be able to speak
yeah,
it. But I think
absolutely.
those languages, the Asian and Japanese languages, are important to see if we can incorporate those into the curriculum, and also the science is critically important. And I know
We
we're
need
really
labs.
we're really
Yeah, the lab
strained by our lab space at the high school. John, the critical issue at obviously the facility. I know there's another issue that popped up this past week with the maskers, and their storage area can no longer be used at the high school, and they're faced with cleaning out years and years and years of costumes and sets because it's now a fire hazard, and they're going to have to take that out of there, and we got an outside store, but they're also in the middle of a production. And again, this is all part of an insufficient facility that we have.
storage is a big problem
I know.
for us at the high school. There is not an awful lot of storage.
I know. So,
Or lab space.
or
Oh, yeah.
Classroom space.
Or
gymnasium space,
True.
gymnasium space.
or
Language
studio
labs,
space
Whatever
Yeah,
else.
language
for the
labs, sure.
music and arts programs, and I think that's another area if we look to expand. Yes, the basics, science critical, math critical, language is critical, but if we could expand in the arts area, you know, more courses in the arts area,
Yeah.
more space, both performing arts and visual arts.
Teaching spaces that we use, as you all know, the former auto body shops for classrooms.
Right.
art rooms. I mean, it's not the best.
No.
no.
And I do think that, you know, the fact that we've added 18 new courses with probably little or no staff added, maybe even less staff, over, you know, the last 5-6 years, and the addition of 17 extracurricular clubs, the addition of freshman sports, the addition of, you know, other sports like the ultimate frisbee that we've added, the addition of field hockey, which I think was a little bit before your time, but about the same time you came in.
That came in under me. Yeah.
So we've really, without spending a lot more money, we've added a lot to both our high school curriculum and our extracurricular offerings, and I think that says a lot about the leadership at the school. I think it's been
A
great.
lot of people, the people are interested in doing good things there, and I think that's the students too. I mean, the students and the teachers work hard to get things done, and they come to me with the ideas. They come to me with the ideas for new courses. They come to me with the ideas for new clubs. There's a lot of good thought going in down at the high school. So I'm very, very proud of the work that everyone does there. And some of the recent accolades and some of the recent test scores are further evidence of pointing to where the successes lie. So thank you for acknowledging that.
Any questions or comments for John?
We were very pleased with the SAT scores, John.
Yes.
Yeah, they've come a long way. They've some nice steady growth. Yeah.
You also, if you look at the DESE website and you look at the progress we've made in the AP scores, the percentage of our students scoring between 3 and 5 is, I think, well more than double over just a few years ago.
Yes.
The percentage of students in that 3 to 5 range, which is measured as the successful range for scoring the AP test. So I think that's another area where not only do we have more kids taking them, but we're having a lot more success in the
Achievement levels
scores.
are high.
Right.
And I think the nice thing about it too is we have a lot of juniors that are taking AP courses where that previously was not possible. So they're